There's nothing quite like Southern Railway steam, and that's why Delay in Block Productions paid the Three Rivers Rambler excursion train a visit in Knoxville, Tennessee. The date is December 15th, 2018, and the mighty fine steam team of the Gulf and Ohio Railway were preparing for 3 Saturday trips over the Knoxville and Holston River Railroad. Southern Railway number 154, the steam locomotive in charge of today's Christmas Lantern Express, is a 280 Consolidation type steam locomotive that was originally built by the Schenectady Locomotive Works in 1890 for the East Tennessee, Virginia, and Georgia Railway. Today, the nearly 130-year-old steam locomotive would have to battle steep grades and wet rail conditions as it made its journey over the Holston River Bridge near Strawberry Plains. Scott Ogle and Brent Norvell are longtime G&O steam team members and have been involved with the 154 since its restoration first began in 2008. We asked them a few questions about the day's excursion train, along with what they found most rewarding about operating a steam locomotive.
Well, we're here at the Three Rivers Rambler Depot at the University Commons, running our Christmas Lantern Express trains, which we do this time of year. Starts here at our depot and finishes up out in what we call the Strawberry Plains community. The Knoxville and Holston River Railroad is the railroad that we operate the Three Rivers Rambler on. The large bridge that we go across out there is what we refer to as the Holston River Bridge. It was built just after the turn of the century, as I understand, primarily to haul marble out of the marble quarry that's just up just this side of Strawberry Plains. The railroad was fairly prominent and being established as primarily hauling the marble out to go into what we all know of now as a lot of the facilities in Washington, D.C., matter of fact.
So for you guys, what is the most rewarding thing about operating a steam locomotive and putting all this hard work and time and effort into keeping this 128-year-old machine running?
Oh, to me, it's to see the kids' faces light up. That's really important to me. It makes all the long hours, all the hard work, blood, sweat, and tears worthwhile just to see the younger generations come out and see the tea kettle under steam and operating.
I'm almost 40 years old. I still get to play with trains. And Scott.
Tell me a little bit about the snow on the train today.
Well, that's proprietary, and I wish that we could share you our deepest, darkest secrets, but Miss Clausen came to us a couple of years ago and said that she wanted something just a little bit more magical to be added to the trip, and after several months of brainstorming, that was where we wound up.
Definitely not something that I've ever seen on any other Christmas train. So.
No, and it gets a lot of good reactions on the 70-degree winter day.
We also spoke with Peyton Gupton, a 154 crew member who commented on what it's like to work with Ogle and the rest of the G&O steam team, along with the importance of operating a vintage steam locomotive for the public.
With Scott, any instance he finds where there's an opportunity to learn something, whether it's about the engine or railroads or just really life in general, he'll take that opportunity to help teach you, and that makes him a really great person to work with. The rest of the guys are they're very fun to work with, they're very professional, and we all understand and appreciate the history of what we're working on. Well, with Gulf and Ohio, this is sort of a PR opportunity in the city of Knoxville. You get those questions, well, is this the only thing that operates here? Well, no, this is an actual real railroad that's serving freight customers, Monday through Friday. Well, in the case of Gulf and Ohio and Pete Clausen, Pete was actually the head of the legal department for the World's Fair in 1982 when it was in Knoxville. And at that time, he actually wanted to operate 154 in excursions, but obviously that didn't happen. After several years of running excursions with Washington Lincoln number 203, the opportunity arose for him to acquire 154 and restore it to operation.
154 would lead the Christmas Lantern Express 3 times during our Saturday visit, being pulled back to Knoxville by diesel on the return trip. For the sake of showcasing the railroad geographically, the scenes in this portion of the video are not in chronological order. Southern Railway 154 is one of only 10 engines built by Schenectady still in existence today. Schenectady would become part of Alco in 1901. The East Tennessee, Virginia, and Georgia Railway would merge with the Richmond and Danville in 1894 to form the Southern Railway system, and as a result, the 466 would be renumbered to 154 in 1896. It was part of the Southern's G class of 280s. Southern Railway 154 would spend much of her working life between Knoxville and Asheville. It was leased to the Gloucester Lumber Company in Asheville during the late 1940s, and in the Murphy Branch book, it's mentioned that the 154 actually derailed on the Murphy Branch at some point in its career. For much of the 1940s and early 50s, the small Consolidation served as the yard goat switcher at Coster Yard and Shops in North Knoxville. Coster was a steam locomotive and railcar shop similar in size and scope to the facilities in Spencer that are now part of the North Carolina Transportation Museum. In the early 1950s until the end of its service career, the 154 would be leased by the Smoky Mountain Railroad when their own steam locomotives were down for repairs. Southern's Coster shops, via contractual agreement, were responsible for the heavy repairs of the Smoky Mountain Railroad's steam locomotives. The Smoky Mountain Railroad rostered ex-Southern number 107, which was purchased during the construction of Douglas Dam between 1942 and 1943. The 107 was built by Baldwin in 1887 as ETV&G number 419. Despite the different builders, it is almost identical to the 154 in appearance. Locomotive 107 survives today as a billboard of sorts for Dollywood and Pigeon Forge. .154 was retired in 1953 and donated by the Southern Railway to the city of Knoxville. It was placed on display in Chilhowie Park. In essence, the 154 served the Southern Railway from its inception in 1894 until the end of Southern Steam in 1953. This essentially means that the 154 operated for the entire tenure of steam on the Southern Railway system. Southern 154 would sit dormant on public display in Chilhowie Park for the next 55 years. When Knoxville's 1982 World's Fair was being planned, the restoration of the locomotive for local excursions was seriously being considered by prominent community leaders, who were prompted by then-lawyer Pete Clausen to move forward with the project. However, Southern Railway inspectors deemed the task too daunting and, as a result, unworthy of the expense. In 1989, the locomotive was given to the Old Smoky Railway Museum, which donated the locomotive to the Gulf and Ohio Railways in August of 2008. The city of Knoxville and the Old Smoky chapter of the National Railway Historical Society cared for and maintained the locomotive while on static display, which kept the locomotive in a condition that made its restoration possible. At the completion of the restoration, 154 became the oldest operating Southern Railway steam locomotive in existence, and also the oldest operating locomotive built by Schenectady Locomotive Works. On the excursion, the 154 encounters steep grades of 1.25 and 1.5% between milepost 8 and the Holston River Bridge. Combined with the wet rail conditions, 154 would slip and slide as she pulled her heavy 6-car passenger train to Strawberry Plains. We were allowed to place cameras on the locomotive, which showcased the 154's loud stack talk and wheel slippage as she struggles uphill. Gulf and Ohio Railways, established in 1985 and founded by Knoxville area attorney and businessman Pete Clausen, is a holding company for 5 short-line railroads and the Three Rivers Rambler train. G&O's railroads operate on 203 miles of track, using approximately 30 locomotives system-wide to haul freight for 64 industrial customers. With over 50 full and part-time employees, G&O plays an important role in the local economies its railroads operate through. Growing up in New Jersey during the 50s, Clausen's grandfather would often take him to the local railroad depot to watch passing trains. This sparked his lifelong fascination with the railroad industry, which eventually would lead him to founding the G&O. The 154 is the pride and joy of Mr. Clausen, and because of his interest in steam locomotives, the city of Knoxville boasts one of the finest steam excursions in the country. The Three Rivers Bridge is one of the biggest highlights of the Three Rivers Rambler route. Under the breathtaking bridge, the French Broad and the Holston River's confluence forms the Tennessee River. The French Broad River flows 218 miles from Transylvania County, North Carolina, and the Holston River flows 136 miles from Kingsport, Tennessee. Near the end of the Three Rivers Rambler Bridge is a large white house known as Gillum Station. Devereux Gillum was one of Knoxville's earliest settlers and built a house at the forks of the river in 1786. The Lebanon in the Fork Cemetery is just northeast of the trestle and is the site of the first church in Knox County. Once over the bridge, the 154 would come to a stop for the return trip back to downtown Knoxville. The 2-hour excursion is a fantastic opportunity to see the Tennessee countryside the old-fashioned way, behind a nearly 130-year-old steam locomotive. Indeed, the Three Rivers Rambler is a gem for not only the city of Knoxville, but rail fans alike, and will continue to pull steam-powered excursions for the foreseeable future. The final scene included in this video shows the 154 battling the 1.5% gradient near the Riverside Drive overpass on the last evening trip of the day. Thank you for watching Delay in Block Productions. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and be sure to hit the notification bell to receive notice when we upload new content. Until next time, happy railroading from all of us at Delay in Block Productions.